Welcome to another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today, my guest is Louisa Nicholson. She is the founder of Every Vegan Recipe, the soon-to-be largest platform for finding and sharing vegan recipes. She has over 20 years experience in various industries globally through web development, interactive design, traditional design, and advertising. She spends her free time researching health in organic systems and cooking. Stick around, I'd like to introduce her to you. Hi, Louisa. How are you?
Hi, Nancy. I'm doing well. How about you?
I am doing great. I am so happy to have you on the show with us today. I'm kind of
Thank you so much for
excited
having me.
about your project. But before we get to that, I want to ask you the question I ask all my guests. First of all, where are you from and how did you get to veganism?
Well, thank you for having me. I currently live in Florida in the United States and came to veganism probably very similar to a lot of folks. I've been vegan for about 5 years now. And during the time when it happened, it was too many documentaries all at once. Once I saw one, I had a lot more questions. And it really opened my eyes to things for, assumptions that I had that were just incorrect. And so once I saw one, I saw another, and it led to more and more questions. It was perfect at the time because I read a lot about medicine and organic systems and agriculture and health. And so I was already open to hearing ideas and new ways of thinking and, studies and things like that. So once I watched one, that was it. And went cold turkey. I was very lucky. My husband wanted to do it with me. And I find it's very, very helpful when two people do it together. And it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could just be a friend or a family member, but it made it a lot easier to do. And we were kind of different in that way. My husband had been pescatarian before. He hadn't touched red meat in like 30 years. It was very easy for him to say, yeah, we should do this. For me, it was a little different. The way I was raised was like meat and potatoes. And it's not challenging, and it was a lot easier than I thought it would be, but it was definitely very different than the way I had been living. But it was just great timing and too many documentaries, and we just went full in.
Well, that's awesome. First of all, you saw documentaries and you let yourself be open to what they were saying and accepting the message. So congratulations on that, to be able to have an open mind and move on, move forward, evolve, whatever you want to call it. And number two, that's a great thing to tell people. Hey, get a vegan buddy. Let's do this together.
Yep. You can be someone online, and it's not about accountability or anything like that. It's like, hey, I'm really craving this thing. What do we do? Like, do we cook it? Do we find it somewhere? Or, just someone you could talk to that's on the same level with you. It's really helpful.
And now I want you to talk about the project that I'm very excited about, which is Every Vegan Recipe.
Well, I'm an industry professional. I've been working in my industry for about 22 years now, and that's in web development, design, marketing, advertising. So I have a lot of background in the internet and projects on the internet, e-commerce, information systems, all sorts of things. And after I went vegan, there was a huge opportunity in the market because there's not a singular place you can find recipes. And so when I was starting, and throughout the 5 years, what I've noticed is that the number one concern is recipes, finding inspiration, because we're all so very different. Some people like junk food and just want something like that they used to eat, or they want to mimic their family's traditional recipes. Some people want to eat completely differently. And what happens is when people come from completely non-vegan, especially when they rarely eat vegetables at all, to veganism, it's a huge shock, and they have no idea what to do, what to eat, what to cook. let alone the nutritional aspects of it, or, you know, sustainability, any of those other things. Like, they just have no idea how to sustain themselves and feel satisfied and happy and not get bored. And so it was disappointing to me that it didn't already exist. And it actually quite frustrated me to the point where I just said, okay, well, I'm the person to do it, apparently, because I have the skill sets and I can do that. And so I still work full time, but I started my company, Every Vegan Recipe, to be this platform where people can find recipes and also share them. So you can think of it sort of like Epicurious and allrecipes.com. You can not only find inspirational recipes and how-to videos and cooking content that we would create, but also everyone globally can submit the recipes to the site. We'll translate them into multiple languages. We'll categorize them into very strict categories like low inflammation, whole food, low fat, things like a Taoist diet, for example, doesn't allow certain ingredients, things like that. So we help categorize the recipes so people can find them easier. It'll just be one huge platform that people can go to and hopefully be that resource where they find new recipe creators that they can follow and find inspiration from and stick to the diet easier. And even for people who are not interested in veganism, but just want to eat plant-based more, that's also a huge market as well, that they're not, you know, they're having issue finding recipes as well. Because the number one thing I find is that people, if they fail the diet or something like that, it's because they weren't able to find recipes and they just got really bored, or tired of eating the same thing, or they couldn't afford the manufactured products, or the manufactured products were not healthy enough for them, whatever the reason. There's 100 different reasons why someone, you know, is having difficulty, and it's usually because they're not being served.
And that sounds great, because you're saying that you're going to separate them by categories, because I have people who say, well, I need gluten-free, or, you know, I can't have soy, or all kinds of things. And if your platform is going to categorize that, that is going to make it easier for people to find the kind of recipes that they're looking to sustain themselves.
Yeah, and it's hard on the outset to see the diversity in food and eating all around the world. There'll be categories, for example, for traditional ethnic cuisines as well. But, you know, from the outset looking in, if you're a really healthy individual, that's terrific. And maybe you just want like a fried chicken recipe. That's great. We'll have that. But there's a lot of people out there too who can't eat foods that might cause autoimmune issues, or they have leaky gut and they can't, you know, eat gluten for a while. There's a lot of reasons why they can't eat certain ingredients and things like that. And it's very hard for them to find anything. I mean, I saw the other day someone requesting high protein foods, but they couldn't eat nuts, seeds, or beans. And it's like, there's not a lot out there for you. So you can imagine someone like that who is having just a terrible time finding foods. They want to be compassionate, but they feel awful physically and probably mentally as well. And there's no one there helping them. And it's a little sad.
And I have those kinds of questions come to me all the time, because I do cooking demos, or I did before COVID-19. So I have people who ask me about things like that, where they're looking for protein, but they can't do soy and they can't do beans. And so it is a wonderful resource to be able to say, okay, go to this platform, go to this website, and you'll find things that you are able to eat and you can learn more about.
Exactly. Yeah, and I find that a lot with physicians who are promoting the plant-based diet. It's amazing, but you know, you can imagine how they want to serve their clients, but they don't have a specific resource that they can make sure their clients can look at and find recipes from. So, you know, when you submit a recipe to the site, we do the categorization. So you might submit a recipe that doesn't have garlic and onion in it naturally, and it will be automatically categorized in all the categories, you know, someone might be interested in finding something like that in. It's just done automatically on our end. So very excited. I'm also very tired.
I'm sure you are.
Just really getting started this year. So we have an ETA launch of next year, but it's kind of in the air.
So, so you said a launch of next year. So, you're thinking January, February, somewhere along those lines?
Probably the end of next year, and
Okay.
that's at best, unless some magic happens. It's going to be at least a year from now.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I will have information about everyday vegan recipes, and where people can contact you in case they want to submit some recipes to you, right? Because you're taking recipes from people.
Absolutely. And so we're on most of the social media channels. You can usually find us if you just search every vegan recipe. We'll come right up. Just look for this little like radish thing with the fork in it. It's hard to miss. And you could tag us, you can message us. We'd love to share your recipes. If you share your recipes with us now, we promote them on all the channels and emails. And once we go live, it'll automatically be pulled in for you. And you'll get an exclusive access to when we launch before everyone else. So I'd love that.
So again, if you have a recipe that you think needs to be, and every recipe, every vegan recipe needs to be on this platform. So y'all have to send it, communicate, and let's share the love. Let's share the celebration of life that is on our plates. Thank you, Louisa, for being on our show. I surely appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you for watching another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Follow our Facebook page, like us too, check out our blog, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You won't miss an episode. Remember, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.